Pakistan cricket at its best. 1 minute down, next minute up.
Right, folks, I'm delighted to have on the telephone a gentleman who was born in Sri Lanka. He's a former Australian international cricketer. He's coached all around the world. Some of the countries that he's coached are Singapore, Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal and Pakistan. His tenure with Pakistan saw him win the Asia Cup. He coached Sri Lanka in 1996 World Cup when they won the World Cup. He's also coached Lancashire in county cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders. He's worked in Indian domestic cricket, and he's also coached the Indian under-19s. Absolutely delighted to have Dav Whatmore. Dav, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure, Saj, and nice to talk to you.
It's been a while, Dav, and a lot of water under the bridge, so they say. What are you doing these days, Dav? Are you still involved in cricket?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very active. I've been more or less engaged in first-class cricket in India, in their Ranji Trophy teams, but I decided to take a bit of a break about a year and a half ago now. And to be honest, I'm probably thinking, why didn't I do that earlier? So I'm engaged in a lot more smaller assignments, like the GT20 in Canada, which is starting very soon. I'm about to travel to Toronto. I've been involved with some Legends cricket. I've done the Bangladesh Premier League, just finished in February this year. And whoever really is interested, I'm about to do something in the UAE as well after the GT20. So basically bits and pieces, Saj, but I'm very much active, yes.
So it's fair to say you're in demand, Dav?
Well, that's nice to know, but you know.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so, but it all depends on, you know, the timing of people who, you know, want your services and if you're available.
Dav, let's talk about your tenure as Pakistan head coach. Obviously, as I said in the intro, that you won the Asia Cup with Pakistan. When you look back at that time in your career and your cricketing life, how do you reflect on that?
Well, yeah, that was pretty much a learning curve going to Lahore and working for the PCB. Yes, we started well, and that sometimes can be a bad thing because everyone expects you to win everything. So yes, you're right. We did win the Asia Cup in Dhaka in Bangladesh, and that was always nice to win trophies. But since then, you know, in that 2 years subsequent to that, Saj, there were mixed results. Obviously, we also beat India in a bilateral series. In test, not a test, in 50 over cricket and also T20. So that was a very good result. I felt a lot of pressure in India, but then you know there was some down times as well when we didn't perform in England in the Champions Trophy. South Africa wasn't all that good, although not many teams do that well in South Africa. But but I always leave with fond memories. But it was a challenge, I can tell you.
When you say it was a challenge, Dav, I think words that we sort of mention on a frequent basis with Pakistan cricket are chaos, unpredictable. Was it pretty chaotic when you were there, Dav?
Yes and no. You know, I'm always up for reviews when, you know, after series of matches. But you know, the review process in the PCB involved what I felt was headhunting, which was very difficult to take sometimes. And when you do well, okay, you know, it's pretty good. But when you don't do well, it just seems like the knives are out too many times. And when you're having a review, it's not so much, you know, the chairman or the selection committee, but there was like 8 or 9 people involved, and they looked like they were just sharpening the knives too often when you're having that review when you do badly. So it was not an easy time.
Gary Kirsten and Jason Gillespie have been appointed recently as the red ball and white ball coaches, respectively, Dav. What would be your advice for both of those very experienced and wonderful international cricketers?
I don't know about Kirsten, but I spoke to Jason when I was in Australia, and I just gave him what I thought, what I felt when I was in my 2 years there, and to just to really be calm and collected and just do your work as best you can. It'll be a learning curve for him, there's no question. And I think he'll do well, to be honest. I think he's got the temperament as a foreigner to come over and fulfil his duty whenever it is, a year or 2 years. My time, it was 2 years, and I did fulfil that period of time. And not many coaches have, I can tell you, Saj. Before I came, there was a number of coaches who never completed their term, but thankfully I did.
Gary Kirsten's had a tough introduction, Dav. Obviously with the T20 World Cup, Pakistan losing to the USA and not qualifying for the second stage of the tournament. So it's going to be a steep learning curve for him as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I guess there's, when you have a result like that, no one's happy with it. If you're anything to do with Pakistan cricket. But I guess from there's only one way to go, isn't it? And that's up. So in some ways you've got to weather the storm. And it looks like, we've seen the changes in the selection committee already. And whether there'll be further casualties as a result of those performances, time will tell, I guess. But yeah, look, he'll have his job won't be that easy, I can tell you.
Dav, there's a continuous problem in Pakistan cricket insofar as the dressing room environment. There's always stories of so-and-so player not happy and infighting and controversies within that dressing room environment. Is that something that you've come across? And again, it's going to be tough for the coaches, Kirsten and Gillespie, to handle those situations.
Well, I might be a little bit naive, Saj, but to be honest with you, my glass is always half full. I didn't personally witness too much of that stuff. We were always committed as a group of players to do well, and I never favoured anybody. I'm pretty sure that the environment in the dressing room when I was there was nothing but united. But I can't swear to that because maybe it's not. But I may have been naive, but I can tell you my glasses, like a rose-coloured glasses or the glass is half full, has always been the case with me. I trust the players to do, the best that they can in any given game. We didn't, obviously, in some of the games, but that's the way I attack it, and I didn't see anything, overtly, to suggest that it was divided.
When you've got 4 or 5 players fighting for the captaincy, Dav, makes for a tough environment, doesn't it? A tough place to be in as far as the dressing room is concerned. Have you ever come across that in your career, and what advice would you give a coach in that environment?
No, look, Saj, to be honest, I haven't. Leadership in international cricket is very important. That position as the captain is extremely important, and that's done generally with chairmen of the cricket board. That is also with the suggestion, the very strong suggestion from the selection committee, and it's something that is given to very few people. I guess it's always nice to be captain, but I'm not sure that everybody will be upset if they're not captain. What happens is when you're not captain, you still want to give your best to the team to ensure victory, and I still think that stands now. But I can be corrected, I suppose. I'll stand corrected if there are a lot of people that just say, look, I want the captaincy, and they don't get it and they don't perform. But I'm pretty sure that whoever is not given the captaincy, they will still give their 100% to ensure victory for the Pakistan team.
Dav, you've recently worked in Indian domestic cricket. You've got a lot of experience in Indian domestic cricket over the years. You coached Virat Kohli in the under-19 setup as well. What makes the Indian domestic cricket circuit so robust, so strong, and the envy of the cricketing world, basically.
Yeah, well, there's no question that the health of the national team is a reflection of the health of the domestic setup, and the domestic competition in India, whilst there is a lot of teams that participate in 4 groups, is still very strong, simply because they've got the population to support it. So I've worked in India for a number of years, and I can tell you that the 3 formats that they participate in is wonderful. It really is good competition, and whilst that's the case, then you've got a vibrant group of players who, when they perform, it means something. Then you add the IPL onto that as well, and you've got a wonderful 7 to 8 months of cricket in the continent that will keep producing wonderful players, and that's basically the secret of Indian cricket.
In some countries, Dav, we're seeing that the T20 competitions are becoming the priority. I mean, Pakistan, for example, there's a lot of emphasis on the PSL, but with Indian domestic cricket, first-class cricket seems to be the priority, and players are encouraged to play in the 4-day format ahead of the white ball formats, aren't they? And that makes for better cricketers, I think.
Yeah, look, there's still some individuals who do not play white ball cricket. Like, for example, my last 2 years in Baroda, Hardik Pandya would never play white ball cricket. It sort of always amuses me that he's termed as the all-rounder from Baroda, but he hasn't played for Baroda for years, from what I can see. So there are some who do not do that, but yes, I mean, I can also see recently that the BCCI is really keen that players participate in the 4-day competition, the Ranji Trophy, as well as all the other of the other 2 formats, to ensure that they respect cricket as a sport. So efforts are being made now to ensure that the 4-day cricket is not neglected in your efforts to try and play the shorter formats and get and earn your money in that way.
I guess though a lot of players go where the money is, Dav. I mean, players will go for the T20 leagues ahead of first-class cricket, but and it's difficult for boards to balance that out, isn't it?
It is, but then how many times have you heard players say, well, the best format is 4-day cricket, is Test match cricket? I mean, I read about and hear players say the ultimate is Test cricket. Then I see so many players opting out of Test cricket to play these leagues around the world, which is still a good idea. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that it needs to be understood that that there is a format now that's come in that's very appealing to a lot of people, and it's appealing to media, it's appealing to the sponsors, it's appealing to players as well. It's just got to be managed a little bit better. But when I have to laugh sometimes when players say the ultimate for me is Test cricket, but sadly, when push comes to the shove, they don't play Test cricket. They prefer to play the white ball.
Last couple of questions, Dav. Back to Pakistan cricket and the PCB. Obviously, post World Cup, you touched upon it. 2 selectors have gone, and we'll get the usual cull, the usual changes. There seems to be no stability in Pakistan cricket, is there, Dav? And that must put a lot of coaches off with working for the PCB, I guess.
Well, it is a challenge, Saj, isn't it? I mean, it really is. If you accept a position, you've got to really feel that you've got the support of the administration of the Pakistan Cricket Board. You've got to feel as though they really do need you, and they want you, and they support you. And the most important committee in any country I've worked in, the most important is the selection committee. And if the selection committee and the captain and coach get on, well, and they have a shared vision of the way in which the sport should go, or the way that the country should go, nothing like it. But sadly, there are many instances when that doesn't occur, and that's the real challenge, to be able to still, do your best and perform, and get the players to perform when it may not be necessarily the formation that you wish for as a coach. But that's the way. That's the reality, and that's the challenge.
And finally, Dav, you obviously enjoyed your 2 years with Pakistan cricket. You had some good times there. You mentioned before that it started really well. If Pakistan came to you and offered you a role within Pakistan cricket, would you be interested, Dav? Have you still got a soft spot for Pakistan cricket?
Of course I got a soft spot. I've worked with them, but Saj, you wouldn't want $1 for everyone that's asked me. Look, if Sri Lanka came and asked you to coach, would you do it? If Bangladesh came and asked you to be coach, would you do it? Yeah, that's all hypothetical, Saj. I'd rather not go into that. It's a case of, if it happens, that's fantastic. It's a decision to be made. But I'm interested at the moment to have a look at how everything goes. I'm an avid reader, and I'm not too much of a watcher, but I follow all the scoreboards, and I know what's going on.
Well, fantastic to talk to you, Dav, and wish you all the best for the future in all your projects that you're working on in the world of cricket. And I hope one day you do come back to Pakistan cricket, Dav. That's my perspective.
Okay, thanks, Saj. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dav.